everybody hear me, or do we have to turn it up a bit? Okay? Well, again, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for coming. Very kind of you. This is a very beautiful day. Tommy and me, we had the chance to stay here overnight. It's like, wow, it's like being on a holiday, really. It was very, very nice. So I hope you also enjoy while you're here. I hope you also enjoy the surroundings and the good energy and the communication, like being connected to each other and being able to talk and chat and all these kind of things. I hope you will enjoy, because it is a very peaceful place, I think. So then, try to take some of that peace home with you this evening, that this place is providing you. Does the dog belong to somebody who is here? Yeah. Okay, run away. So it's not disturbing, but if
she's crying, it's disturbing. If she's crying, it's disturbing. So
yeah, exactly. So from my side, you can let her in if she's quiet and she throws up somewhere. But I don't think that Amira would like it. Exactly, because they do yoga and those things, and some people are allergic to dogs or animals' hair. So unfortunately, he has to be, or she, it's a she has to be outside. Okay, so we are looking at the text which is called the 7-point instruction of mind training, and we already started yesterday. So for those people who are not familiar with the text, or for those people who don't know what we're doing, just a very short, but really short kind of recap. So when you look at your text, it says, like, the point 1 is do the groundwork. In this text it says do the groundwork. Other text says first do the preparations. So the preparations are that we become aware that there's quite a lot of shortcomings in our life. And this is what the discussion group was all about, is like people discussed with each other what are the shortcomings in my life, and where do I put the blame? Kind of, do I see what causes it? And it's quite amazing that all of the discussion groups came up with this whole thing that, it actually comes from my mind. It's not so much I was very surprised, because shortcomings, I thought you would say, it's not peaceful in this area, I'm very poor, I can't kind of pay my bills, nothing of this. It was really shortcomings, mental shortcomings that in my mind, not in somebody else's mind. So it's very profound what you found, because this is exactly why we are doing this, because that's the only thing that we have some control over is our mind. So we want to train the mind and not so much fiddle around with the environment or where we live and what kind of neighbors we have and these kind of things. But again, before we go into this, it's okay to set borders. Yeah, it's like, it's okay to try to set borders, and then maybe the neighbor, and I'm not talking about political neighbors, okay, because if I would know what to do, then I'd be world famous, so I don't know what to do also then. I'm talking about your neighbors in your house. So it's okay when they're making a lot of noise or have a lot of parties, it's okay to talk to them. And if it gets a bit better, fine. If it doesn't, well, that's it. Then you can work with your mind. Then you have an occasion kind of to use these texts to accept it, the music of the party. So instead of getting upset and tight and you can't sleep, you could, for example, say, well, at least they're having a good time. At least they're not fighting. At least they're not killing each other. Can you imagine how you would feel if they would be fighting and killing each other? Much better they have a good time and listen to music, even if you don't like the music. Yeah, so everything can be transformed. This is why it says, like, everything is depending on your mind. Yeah, this kind of thing. So the groundwork would be, okay, there's quite a few shortcomings in my life, comes from my mind. Then the next point that you think about is that right now, I have the possibility to work with my mind because I have interest, which is not always like that. Everybody wants to be happy. This, yes, everybody has this interest, but there's not so many people who understand that it does come from your mind and not from outside. So most of the effort that society is doing is going towards outside. Yeah, making better air conditioners, making better houses, making better cars. If you look at the cars, like very ordinary cars today are like when I was a kid, like in the 1950s. If somebody had a car with automatic windows, because my dad had one, my schoolmates kind of wanted to come and look how this is, what this is. Like they thought, wow. Yeah, that you only have to kind of switch it and then you would go up and down. Now if you have such a car, people won't come and look at it. So again, it's not the progress that makes it better or whatever, but it's like we have made a lot of changes outside in these only like 50, 60, 70 years. It's amazing, like that people my age, we can remember how it was when we were children and how it is now. So this is where most of the effort goes, and not into transforming the mind. Transforming the mind into two directions, which is the wisdom of seeing things as they are, also the wisdom of understanding the law of cause and effect, that my actions now, even if I get away with it, if they're negative and nobody finds out, still they create some potential on our mind stream or some energy that at one point when the outside conditions are there for this to ripen, it will ripen. Yeah? So that can be positive or negative. Yeah? You might have a lot of positive imprints to live in a very peaceful country on your mind stream, but the conditions where you live, they're not there here. But it doesn't mean that you don't have the possibility. You're not stuck with this. Yeah? Because you can change outside conditions sometimes. But if you carry an unpeaceful mind with you, soon enough you'll have, again, you'll be fighting. You'll get nervous about something else that a neighbor is doing, or somebody that you know, or your boss, or whatever. So you're not content. If you're not content with your house, with your partner, with your job, with your country, it's okay to move away. But if you take your discontent mind with you, soon enough, the new partner will not be good enough, the new house will not be good enough, the new car will not be good enough, the new job will not be good enough. So this is it. It's okay to change country, house, partner, but first you have to learn to be content with them so that you can really start afresh, because otherwise it's like, what's the point? Yeah? Because a discontent mind sees the negative things and thinks afterwards. This is what a discontent mind is doing. Okay, so we recognize that the situation that we're in now is very precious. Then the next point we were thinking about yesterday is that it won't last. There's impermanence, there's death. And then, what is a meaningful life? Also, we looked at it. Like really sitting down and thinking about this. What do I want to do with my life so that I can die without regret? Yeah. So this is the groundwork or the preparation, looking after ourselves. Only being concentrating on ourselves, kind of what do I want? What is important for me? If I want to change something, to be aware that now I have the possibility to do it. I have interest, there are groups, there is teachings, there are people who have the same interest, so I can practice together with them. There's teachers who teach how to do these methods and structures. So feeling very, very fortunate. So once you have that, and once you know how to look after yourself, and once you have learned to stop harming others, then the point 2, which is the main practice of the main training of this text, is to train in bodhicitta. It's page 2. To cultivate the 2 bodhicittas. So one is, it's called ultimate bodhicitta, means one starts to see how reality actually doesn't exist as totally real, but everything is designated by the mind. So it doesn't mean that my mind is making that cup. It doesn't produce the cup. But for this thing to be cup, it needs my mind to call it cup. Maybe with something a bit more, less solid, it becomes more clear, okay? Some of you know it. What is this? Huh? Somebody says letter, somebody says A. Usually, you know, if you would see this without asking what is this, if you would see this there, your mind, without needing thought, would immediately put what? A. If you're English speaking, A. Yeah? But what is it really?
Legs for a table.
Huh?
It's like 2 legs for a table. On each side you put, then you put a plate.
Legs of a table. Is it 2 legs of the table? But the table is nowhere, so it's kind of...
Right, it's just...
Okay, so it can't be 2. Why is the table for the 2 legs? So that's total fantasy. That would be not the right label for that basis, okay? So what is it really? Just say it.
Something with some blue lines.
Blue lines, 3 lines, okay? But also the 3 lines is the mind who calls it 3 lines. If I would be an ant, or, you know, if I show this to your dog, do you think she would see 3 lines? Do you think she would call it 3 lines? She will see something, but she will definitely not call it 3 lines. Yeah. So, but for us, let's say the 3 lines are the basis. You need a basis. You know, the mind is not kind of producing things. So you need a basis, and then the mind comes and designates something. So you need a basis. You need a name or a designation, and the mind who puts A on it. Then this is a dependently arisen R. And R does not exist from its own side. This is what is being said. If nobody calls this R, it is neither R, nor 3 lines, nor whatever. Yeah? But in it has a lot of possibilities because it's not a real R. This is why it can be for only like 3 legs of a table or something. And it can be many other things, for maybe a roof. Yeah? A roof of like the roof of a house. But where is the house? So how can you know that this is a roof? So you need to have a valid base to put the label on. And the valid base is through agreement. If in that case we all agree, like people who can read and write. But if you're born here and you've never seen this, you only saw Hebrew letters, again, it would not be R. It would be, maybe, does it resemble something from the Hebrew alphabet? No, nothing.
The ancient Hebrew alphabet.
Huh?
Yes. From the ancient Hebrew alphabet, and this is a derivation also from
Okay, so then you would say it's an ancient Hebrew, whatever. So do you understand this? This is what it means, dependent on the mind or designated by the mind. If no mind designates this R, there is no R to be found nowhere. If no mind designates this cup on this thing of clay and color and plants and whatever, there's no cup anywhere. Now, out here we understand it very quickly. Yeah? So, like, the change that comes when you start to understand, first this appears as a real R, without needing any causes and conditions. The mind sees it, R. Yeah? Then you start to understand, this is a dependently arisen R, not existing from its own side, and it becomes less solid and less real like this. Yeah? So this is why sometimes it's good to start with outside things, and then we go to the I or the me, who feels very real and very true, especially when you feel your shortcomings, when there's fear. What else did we say yesterday? When there's fear, when there's loneliness, when there's sadness, when there's anger, when there's jealousy, when there's pride, then it seems as if that thing here is. We don't say that my eye has jealousy. We say, I am jealous. I am angry. I am this and that. So it seems as if, you know, there is an I who at that moment has jealousy or is jealousy. It's actually that wrong concept of real I that is producing it. So this I, if you look for it, the same way, you know, if you look for the R, you don't find it, because if I ask you, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it in the paper? No. So it does not exist really, but it does also not exist. So this is what you have to understand, because otherwise you go into nihilism. It exists as merely designated R. Okay? So the I or me, there is an I, there is a me, but it's a mere designation of the mind to this body and mind, or consciousness. But we add, you know, the mind with its wrong views of reifying everything adds real existence to the I, to the me. And we think it is truly existent, it exists from its own side. So one trains, when you look at one trains to kind of to loosen it up a bit, that I and others are really designated. We are not as separate as we think. Because why? One thing, why am I not as separate as I think from you? Why? What's the reason? Question to you. Why? Because I'm totally dependent on you. Do you think I would sit here and talk when you would not be here? And if I would not be here, nobody else is here, you wouldn't be sitting there. So we're totally dependent on each other just for that. That's why we're not separate, because we are dependent on each other. So when you understand this, because this I makes I and others. So when you start to understand what the I is starting to make is we. I'm not becoming Dawn, she's not becoming me, but there is a connection. We are dependent on each other. Okay? And this I that makes the separation does not exist. It appears to exist. This merely, you know, this kind of really existing R seems to exist from its own side, as if nobody has made it. This is how it appears. That it was always on this piece of paper. But I made it this morning, so, you know, and I made it with a pen. So is the R the pen? Well, of course not. Is it the paper? No. But it's all dependent on each other. Okay? So, me is totally depending on the designation. It's totally depending on the basis, which is body and consciousness. If you take away the body, if you take away the mind, what can you still have? Where is your I going? If there would be no body and if there would be no mind, where would this self-existing, separate from the body and mind, I go?
Be out of samsara.
Huh?
Will it be out of samsara, maybe?
Who said that?
Me.
I only hear on one ear, then I don't know where the sound is coming from. So totally confused. Yeah.
It would be out of the cycle of life and death, or
The merely existing I can go out of some. The really existing I can go out of samsara.
No,
No. Why not?
because it's still attached to the I.
No, because it doesn't exist. So it can't do anything. And actually what it does create samsara. Yeah? So this is what we're trying to understand. That thing that we are sure to exist, we need to hear this many, many times, and you need to examine it until you believe that it does not exist the way that it appears. It appears. It appears as if this flower here is existing separate from my mind. It appears like that, and we totally believe it. So I give you the same example as we had yesterday, when you have your iPhone or your wallet and you're sure that you put it in the bag. The best thing is when somebody steals it from there, actually. You are 100% sure that you put it in your bag. And if you have a bag like mine, which is open at the top, you know, so, and then you look for it and it's gone. How many times do you look in your bag until you believe that it's not there? How many times?
A lot.
Definitely more than one. Although maybe you emptied it all out and then you put everything back in, you will empty it again a few times. So this is it. This is why, when we hear this for the first time, that this I does not exist, it's like being sure that we put the wallet into the bag. And since I put it there, it cannot disappear. Totally out of the question. That's why we're shocked when it goes, when it's not there anymore. You might have lost it. Who knows? Maybe there's a hole in the bag or something. So that's why we have to hear this theory, this teaching on emptiness many, many, many times. And how we approach the whole thing is with these few points here when it says, regard all phenomena as dream-like. Like a dream exists, yeah?
How do you define consciousness?
That which is clear and knowing. It's not matter, but it has the ability to perceive objects and to engage with them. So it's our psyche.
It's mind.
It's the same. Consciousness and mind is the same. Yeah. Whatever is mind is consciousness, and whatever is consciousness is mind. It's only when, sometimes they use mind, sometimes they use consciousness. If you are very good at Tibetan Buddhists studying philosophy, they have different kind of names for different minds, the same way as the people in the South Pacific. Yesterday we talked about the South Pacific. People in the South Pacific, they have a lot of different names for palm trees because their livelihood is coconuts. Okay, like they gather it, and they have the white stuff, then they have the hair around, then they have the hard stuff, so they sell it. That's how they, on the outer islands. And this is how, so they have, for them, like a coconut tree is very, very important. So they have about 30 different names at each stage of the coconut. And I hear that Eskimos have different names for ice also. Yeah. Whereas when they count in their language, in their language, not in French, in their language is 1, 2, many. Not 3, 4, 5. If they want to say how many, they have to use the French word for 10 or 15 or 100. In their own language, 1, 2, many. Nice. It's very nice. So like this. So see, everything is dream-like. Like our mind or our consciousness, when we dream, it creates a story. It creates a reality that we follow. Yeah, that we are afraid or happy or this and that. So then this knowledge that the mind is so powerful that it can create a whole reality. Like this night, also had a very real dream of giving a lousy workshop to teenagers, and then I was criticized for it, and then I was very proud of myself because I just said to the one who phoned and kind of said, wow, you lousy workshop. I said, yes, you're right, it was a lousy workshop because I was not prepared. So, but I wasn't happy. But it was like totally real. Totally real. You know, the reaction, what I said, how they reacted, the person who was there. So then you see the power of the mind to produce something based on memory, something based on what you know, not just from this life, but also from other lives. Yeah? So then one takes that experience into daily life where we think things are so real. And then we also go, just my mind experiencing it like that. Yeah? My mind designating good or bad. You see the thing, good and bad, like something that you really like, and somebody else can totally feel disgusted by it. Like cheese is a good example. Because I'm from Switzerland, I hated cheese. And my dad, he really loved it. So for him it was pleasure, for me it was suffering. So he would kind of force me to eat it so that I would discover how wonderful it is. And he would sit in front of me, full of expectation, saying, it's nice, it's nice. And I'd go, then I had to vomit because I felt real disgust for it. And he couldn't understand because he liked me and I was his daughter. So how can I not like cheese? It was an insult to him. That I became a nun was no problem. But I did not like cheese. You know, every time I came home from long trips, he would ask, "You still don't like cheese?" And he really hoped that it would change before he died. It did, funny enough. I can eat it now. It's not that I think that has to do with purification of the mind or my senses getting a little bit more dull. I don't know, either one. Because when they say purify your mind, everything becomes very delicious. There's not more, you know, this is good and this is bad. Everything is good when the mind is happy and open and spacious. It's only when the mind is unhappy that you need these incredible tastes. So it's, what is it? Is cheese, is it good or is it awful? What is it? For some of you. Okay, for how many of you is French cheese or Swiss cheese that really stinks? It does stink, I'm sorry. You know, if your feet smell like that, you're not going like, oh. I don't know if you know French people, how they can smell their cheese. Like, really, they put it here and they go like, so if that is not labeled by the mind, I mean, excuse me, what is it? Because if you would give them a sock, and they know it's a sock, they wouldn't go like this. The same smell sometimes. Actually, sometimes cheese is worse than the sock. So for how many of you would like to smell it? Like you've smelled the smell and you go like, cheese. How many of you? Yeah, see, quite a few. For how many of you it would be kind of, oh no, cheese, bleh. Okay, me also. And for how many of you wouldn't care? Yeah, exactly. So this is, what does it depend on? It's the same cheese, it's the same smell. So it's your mind who is creating good or bad. According to experiences from the past, I must have been a mouse in one life and maybe died because I ate too much cheese in a trap, or because I got trapped with cheese and then, you know, who knows what memory that is, that from the beginning it was like, no way, no way. So please also when you have children like this, I know that now children are very fussy, but if you feel that they eat it and they vomit, please don't tell them that it's, you know, don't try to change their mind, just leave them alone. You know, I mean, this is it. For you, delicious. For them, disgusting. So, yeah. So then, so this is how you train to make it a bit more open, that this I that comes up in certain situations, hey, just produced by the mind, like this. And also the mind itself doesn't have inherent existence. The mind itself also is dependent on previous moment. In order for the mind or the consciousness to function, it needs an object. And that can be an outside object, sound, smell, taste, touch, form, or it can be a thought, or it can be a sensation that the mind picks up, or it can be an emotion. So the mind itself is dependent on moments and also on objects. But thoughts, emotions, sensations, that is also mind. So also psyche maybe is a better word, because when we say psyche, we also are able to include everything, isn't it? Sensations like sadness or happiness, thoughts, emotions. You would include, and being able to perceive awareness. That then, when we use the word psyche, I think we understand that it's one package, although it's not the same. Okay. So even that one is also empty, you know, of inherent existence. And even emptiness itself also is empty of inherent existence. Like, you know, when people say, okay, then I start to understand emptiness, I go there, and then that's it, I'm liberated. It doesn't exist, because emptiness needs conventional reality to be able to exist. Yeah? So you can't just go there, so emptiness is also empty. And then that's... in post-meditation, regard everything, including yourself, as illusion-like. So, illusion-like, what is the illusion? Do we have an illusion that we exist? Is that what you're trying to produce? That you understand that whatever you are is just an illusion? That would be going too far. The illusion is that you really exist from your own side, independent, autonomous, without needing anything else. And the illusion also is that